please. No, you can leave it open. Just other people come in late.
We got slaughtered last night. I said, if only had enough.
Just got that thing on, we got 5 people already. 6, 8, 9. Jim, I ain't got you in the picture.
Oh,
but now we can scoot you up a little bit.
Shoot the ball or dribble the ball or anything. It's so crazy.
There you go. I can see it now. Stand right here if you want to.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. I always like to start any meeting with a prayer. Gene Crouch, would you mind leading us in prayer?
Be glad to. Gracious Father, we love you and we just thank you for all the blessings you've given all of us, and we just ask that you continue to guide us and protect us. Be with this committee, help them to get through these issues, put them on the table, be very transparent, but be with all these members and work with us and bless us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. We normally do a pledge, but we still don't have a flag in here. So we will, even though I believe in that, we will have to pass today. Jim Hall, would you read the minutes from the last meeting?
Okay. This is the meetings from February 4th, 2026. In attendance, Barry Waltrip, Richie Traylor, Tony Hurd, Chad Lee, Brenda Boone, the Wedowee Utility employees, with the exception of Alex Safel, Tim Coe, Jerry Huddleston, April Huddleston, Charlie Boone, Lisa Waltrip, Tony Altork, Tim Altork, Harold Harmon, Will Swan, Lavinia Swan, Darrell Finch, Scott Bayless, Greg Dinglinger, Brianna Brand, Al Haynes, and others. There was no minutes read. New business. The new board opened with a prayer by Richie Traylor. Barry called the meeting to order at 5 p.m. Barry opened with questions for Brenda Boone on the MDA Professional Group audit. Brenda proceeded to answer questions along with detailed discussion on Pacifics. Brenda stated that she was a contract employee and did payroll and did not make any decisions. The lagoon project was discussed in detail on the financial drain it has on finances. Scott Bayless asked the question, why the need for an outside company to operate the water plant. The answer was explained because qualified operators did not apply for the position. The cost of living increase and raises was approved in an executive session in the meeting on January the 14th, 2026. Brian Cross answered the question concerning the fuel tank at the shop. He stated that it was secured with a switch located inside the shop. Brenda Boone retrieved a CD and presented to the board. It was mislabeled as of the town of Wedowee by the bank. Brianna Brand asked how they were appointed so quickly. Barry explained that the town council had voted on the change the afternoon of February the 3rd. Councilman Jerry Huddleston confirmed. The board presented a letter stating that they had been sworn in earlier on February the 4th. Chad Lee answered the question that an emergency meeting could be called to protect life or company property. Barry Waltrip made the motion to adjourn. Tony Hurd seconded the motion.
I hear a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
All in favor? Financial report, starting on February 4th, we got the new balances before the new board was able to write checks. There were 3 accounts at First Bank of Alabama. One account for $19,245.13, one account for $342.42, one account for $369,683.72. That was a total of $389,271.27. Since then, we have had deposits made of $40,079.25. Checks that have been written, last week's payroll, $7,906.44, check signed by Jim Hall, Barry Waldrop. Invoices paid, $56,615.02, check signed by Tony Hurd and Barry Waldrop. The balance as of today, total, $364,829.06. I hear a motion to approve the financial report.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll start with our agenda. Trey Strain.
Yes, sir. Come to, ask for approval to extend the main line, for a subdivision that I'm building off of County Road, off of Old Highway 431. If you go north on Old Highway 431, it's just before you get to the Tallapoosa River Bridge, and it'll be on the right. It would be about 1,700 feet of main line that I would need to extend off of what's already currently there. Right now, I'm planning on 19 lots in my subdivision. So assuming that nobody buys multiple lots, that'd be 19 new water meters / services that would go in on that. I'm the owner of the subdivision, and of course, any cost incurred from the tapping onto the main line plus extending it, I'd cover 100% of the cost. And then upon approval, Strain Utilities will be the one performing the work, and they're licensed and insured and already do work for the utility department. And then on the back of that is it's just a plat of where it's at, so y'all can see exactly where it's going, and then approximately where the line would go. And so I just wanted to see what process I need to go through to get approval and get started on that.
Am I right in saying, Trey, that the board has voted on this and denied it? with
No,
the
sir.
old board? They
No,
have
sir.
not
This is
denied
my
it.
first time.
Your
coming.
first time, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, and I'm sorry to say today
I
that
understand.
we are not prepared to give you any decision at this point with this being a brand new board.
Yes, sir.
And I apologize for that. If you would not mind, coming to next month's meeting.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll have some answers for you.
Okay. All right. I
Again, I apologize.
I didn't figure I'd get approved today. I just kind of wanted to go ahead and get the
Right.
process started so that y'all could be looking at it
Right.
and know what I was thinking about and where it would be.
Okay,
All right.
all right.
Thank y'all.
Sandy McLean,
She's not
she's
here.
not here, okay. Hunter Shelton and Brian Collins.
Yes, sir. We're with Clearwater Solutions. I think we met earlier. Mr. Ritchie, I don't think we've met yet, but I'll get you my card after the meeting. You should have a board report that I put together for you. If you don't know what, I'll start with the water plant. So, over the last month, since the last meeting, we've had a couple interruptions in service at the plant, which happens periodically, especially with the location of the raw water intake. It's up in a slough, especially when the lake's low, heavy rain, you get all the runoff. Raw water turbidity shoots up through the roof. I know Mr. Tony's heard this a million times, but, it makes it very difficult to treat the water. Excuse me. And, we have to shut down so that we don't put out a product that is unsafe, and out of compliance. So that happened on January 22nd. Big rain came through. We had a raw water turbidity spike of 100 plus NTUs. We were able to get the plant back up and running, and make good quality water the following day. Same thing, February 1st, only was a lake level issue with that extreme cold. A lot of times what'll happen is the power company will draw the lake down even more. and the lake level will get so low that we're unable to pump any water at all. We can't run those pumps dry, without damaging them. Bad thing. And I'd hate for the board to have to replace a brand new, or a pump, you know, that's a pretty big cost. So we got the plant back up and going on the 3rd, when the water levels came back up and a lot of the ice froze. Again, we don't wanna run that pump, when everything's frozen, could cause some catastrophic damage to those pumps. And you'll see there on the first page, you know, there are occasions where it's necessary to shut down the water plant, as I just explained, and buy water from Randolph County. My commitment, once I learned how everything worked, I've been here about 2 years, was to reduce the amount of water that we purchased because of the plant from Randolph County. And you can see here on the chart, since 2023, when Clearwater assumed operation of that water treatment plant, plant production has increased significantly. It might not look like it on this chart, but we're talking tens of millions of gallons over the course of a couple of years. And the water purchased by us from Randolph County has significantly dropped. It went from roughly 100 million gallons in a year down to around 50. So it was roughly a 45% decrease over 3 years. And we're continuing to do everything we can to keep the plant running as long as possible. That way, you aren't having the extra costs of buying water from Randolph County. But like I said, you know, sometimes it is necessary.
Right.
Go on to the lagoon. So at the lagoon, I'm sure y'all are aware that there were some major upgrades done last year and the year before. A lot of new equipment out there. We assumed operation of the lagoon back in September 1st. There were several issues, one being the crazy increase in power consumption. From the end of 2024 to the time that we took over, the utility board was averaging about $8,500 a month on power costs alone. When we came in, we made that our priority. We've been able to reduce that from roughly $8,500 a month down to about $4,500 a month. And I just want to mention as well, a lot of that is because of weather. You know, wintertime, we're able to cut back on the operation of the aerators because the sun has a big effect. With shorter days and cooler weather, the oxygen stays in the water a whole lot better and longer. In the summertime, they'll have to run a little more. That's something I'll try to keep an eye on and try to keep the cost as low as possible. But you will see an upward trend towards the summertime due to that.
Right.
But we are doing everything we can to save y'all money on that front. The only other thing is there was a small non-compliance issue. We're not dumping anything crazy out to the water. We were all in compliance for the numbers, with the exception of the CBOD 5 test. It's your organic load coming into the lagoon and leaving the lagoon. Those numbers were within permit, but the percentage of removal was just below the permissible amount. That is the only violation that we've, or not violation, but non-compliance issue that we've had since we've taken over. And just to put it into perspective, from January 2025 to August 2025, there were 96 non-compliance issues. Just wanted to inform the board of that. I think I covered that in the sampling and compliance section. And then, last but not least, we have an R&M account through the contract, $85,000 a year. That is for repair and maintenance at the plant and at the lagoon. Any money that we have left over at the end, we give back to y'all. And we've been pretty we've been good stewards with that money. We were able to give a check back a couple of years ago, and I think we went maybe $1,000 over last year. And that's just to keep up with plant, order chemicals, that sort of thing. And that's for the contract year, which starts March 1st, ends February 28th, so we're coming up on the end of that contract year now. And the R&M total is a little behind, it's going back to December. So from March 2025 to December 2025, we have spent $53,322.28, which is roughly 63% of the allotted yearly amount. And with that, I think that's it. Y'all have any questions for me?
Just a couple of questions, just for the people of the community, everyone just, I'm sure would like to know that the water is always safe and there's never any issues there. But also with the contract that the Wedowee Utilities Board has with y'all, does it take all the liability off the water board with the contract that we have with y'all?
I'll field that, sir. So my name is Brian Collins. I'm the area manager for Clearwater Solutions. And yes, that is part and parcel of the contract, is that the liability, the responsibility for reporting, for regulatory compliance falls within our scope of work. And to be specific, that scope of work currently is related to the water treatment plant and to the Wedowee Lagoon. And we also contractually are obligated to operate the booster pump station. I think it's important to note that we don't limit our work to the scope. We endeavor to support the communities and do anything that we can. We collaborate with the utility board staff on distribution and collection system items to help brainstorm or suggest things, and as well as capital improvement projects going into the future, and trying to help to position the utility to be in a place to execute on grant opportunities that come up in the future.
Thanks very much. Anyone have any questions? Okay. Moving on, I want to be perfectly clear on everything that I'm about to say. And we are basing everything that we have to say that we have received from First Bank of Alabama, MDA Professional Group, who are the auditors and accountant for the Wedowee Utilities Board. We are doing our civic duty to stand for the citizens of this community. We must restore the utility board for the people. According to the accountant, it is months away from bankruptcy. And by looking at everything, or should I say all I can see, I agree 100%. Public funds come from the taxpayers. It's their expectations that we use them lawfully and responsibly. So I will go over a few things from the audit to start with. Federal payroll taxes and payroll oversight. 2001, first quarter, $189.04 unpaid tax variance. Third quarter of 2021, $3,462.42 unpaid tax variance. Fourth quarter, 2021, $2,308.48 unpaid tax variance. 2022, first quarter, $206.75 unpaid tax variance. Second quarter of 2022, $4,115.16 unpaid tax variance. Third quarter, $9,530.72 unpaid tax variance. Fourth quarter, $9,674.16 unpaid tax variance. 2023, $2,614.22 overpaid in tax variance. Second quarter 2023, $3,163.88 unpaid tax variance. Third quarter 2023, $4,094.38 unpaid tax variance. Fourth quarter 2023, $3,668.48 unpaid tax variance for the payroll. 2024, first quarter, $235 unpaid tax variance. Second quarter, 2024, $751.79 unpaid tax variance. Third quarter, $4,263.22 unpaid tax variance. Fourth quarter, 2024, $9,250.02 unpaid tax variance. (2022) payroll processing and employee bonuses. Findings: employee bonuses were paid as vendor checks, totaling $48,000 for each of the year 2024, 2023, and 2022. These checks were processed as vendor checks rather than through payroll, excluding them from required tax withholdings and W-2 reporting. Board of Directors approved of the bonuses was not documented in the meeting minutes. Risk identified: improper bonus processing results in inaccurate tax reporting and exposes an entity to potential penalties for non-compliance. Segregation of duties. Findings: management, bookkeeping, payroll, processing, and reconciliation duties are performed primarily by one part-time individual with limited oversight by the board in its entirety. There is no independent documented board of directors review of monthly bank reconciliations or bank statements. The lack of segregation of duties increases the risk that errors, unauthorized transactions, or fraud could occur and remain undetected. Going concern and default on installment purchase agreement. The board is in default under an installment purchase agreement due to non-payment of required obligations. The default allows creditors to demand full repayment or pursue receivership of the system. Finding is documented as a going concern in the auditor's report to the financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2024, 2023, 2022, 2021, and 2020, and included in the footnotes to the financial statements. Their ongoing defaults raises substantial doubt about the board's ability to continue as a going concern and can result in loss of control of the utility system. Going concern and recurring operating losses and negative cash flows. The board reported its fourth consecutive operating loss with negative operating cash flow of $507,757 for 2003 and negative operating cash flow of $94,124 for 2024. The trend reflects consistent financial strain and insufficient revenues to cover expenses. The board entered into a service agreement with a third-party vendor beginning March 23 to manage the Wedowee water treatment plant with annual anticipated cost of approximately $732,000. Additional funding either through water rate increases and/or grants will be necessary to allow the board to manage the water treatment plant. Water and sewer rates increases were approved sequential to the year effective September 2025. The effects of the changes are undetermined at this time. Sustained operating losses threatened long-term financial stability and may impair an entity's ability to maintain operations or meet debt obligations. Controls over payroll, overtime, policies, and procedures. During our audit, we noted that the board does not have adequate internal controls over employee timesheets, work hour documentation, overtime approval, or supervision of related parties' employees. Multiple employees within the same family working field operations, and their daily activities, start time, and overtime hours are not independently verified or authorized. During the years ending December 31st, 2024 and 2023, total overtime reported was approximately $163,000. That's 3,959 overtime hours, and $117,000 with 3,031 overtime hours respectively. Required timesheets were not maintained for all employees. Overtime was approved without sufficient documentation of work performed, and hours submitted by employees supervised by a related party were not subject to independent review. Revenue journal entries and bank reconciliation procedures. During the audit, we noted that the billing activity, accounts receivable, and revenues were not recorded in QuickBooks accounting software on a routine basis. Instead, monthly totals, billing totals for January through August 2023 were entered as a journal entry on September 18, 2023, with each entry backdated to the respective month's end. Additionally, billing activity for October, November, and December 23 was not recorded in QuickBooks until August 19, 2024. This also indicates to us that bank reconciliations were not performed on a routine monthly basis. Risk of inaccurate financial reporting. Ultimately, reconciliation increases the risk that errors, fraud, or irregularities in cash receipts maintain undetected for extended periods. This also limits an entity's ability to monitor cash flow. Related party relationships and conflict of interest oversight. Finding several related party relationships exist among employees and board members, but no formal disclosure process is in place. Undisclosed related party relationships increase the risk of perceived or actual conflicts of interest and weaken governance transparency. Additionally, related party relationships can create favoritism, reputation damage, fraud, and weak controls. We recommend adopting a written conflict of interest policy requiring annual disclosures by all employees and board members. Is Brenda Boone present? Is Brian Cross present?
Yes.
If Brian would come in, please. Is Tim Cove present?
I don't see.
Okay. Okay, this is all very, very confusing in walking into this, but what we want to establish to start with is who is in charge of the daily activities at the Wedowee Utilities Board. So I'll start with Jim Hall. Who would you, well, first give us what is your job here at the Utilities Board?
I was hired in January of 25 to take Mike Hester's place. He did the gas, the ADM and all the regulations to make sure that we're up to speed with all the regulations, the employees that have to handle gas, and with all the stuff that ADM requires. There's a lot of reports and documents that we have to provide to them because gas is so dangerous. So I was hired to take his place to do that. And when customers come into the window, I help Allison with receiving their payments and entering them into the computer, make sure that they all paid and entered correctly.
Okay.
And
And who would you take direction from?
there really was not one person in charge. Brenda would come in, she wasn't here for very long when she'd come in, so she didn't really direct us on doing anything. It was more like we were directing ourselves, to be honest with you.
Okay, and the first day that I came in, I asked you and Allison a lot of questions about a list of things that I needed, and y'all, we'll ask you, what did you tell me that morning?
Yeah, we didn't have any of that information. That was all Brenda handled all that. I mean, we didn't have any of the questions you asked. We didn't have any of the answers to.
Okay. Allison Payne, who would you answer to as far as if, for any direction?
Today or in the past?
No, before we took over.
Whatever the board told me to do is what I did.
I'm sorry,
Whatever the board instructed me to
the
do,
board, did you take direction from Brenda Boone?
not correctly, no.
Do you agree with what Jim said as far as y'all couldn't give me that information? Brenda was the only one who knew it?
The financial part, yes, I agree.
Okay, and so when you say you took direction from the board, which would have been, at the time, Timco, Veronica, Austin, and for the last 8 months, how long have you been on? About 8 months, Tony Hurd. Before that, it was just the two of them for a long period of time, correct? Okay, did Timco ever give you direction personally?
Anything,
So did it come from the board to Brenda, then to you? In other words, if you had any questions, who would you contact?
whoever knew what we was talking about. I mean, if it was financial, we would contact Brenda, and if it was,
Would you call Brenda for getting direction?
I mean, if it was something I didn't know how to do in the computer system. or
Okay, would you
something
call
like that,
Timco for direction?
I would call Tim and Veronica.
Okay. All right, Brian Cross, who would you say, was in charge, and who did you take direction from?
This is not the time or place to answer those questions.
Okay. It's a public meeting. This is a water board meeting. It's open to the public. What is your role?
This is not the time or place to answer these questions.
Okay. Brenda Boone and Timco is not present. Okay, in the last meeting, Brenda Boone requested that the auditors come to a meeting and sit down and discuss things. I have a reply from the auditor. Here's the letter. Mr. Waltrip, we have determined that a meeting with the utility board staff would not be productive at this time. We provided information to the office manager multiple times over the years relating to audit findings and still have not received updates or responses to solve the discrepancies noted. Audit standards require more than verbal communication with a single individual as audit documentation in support or response to findings. We will continue to communicate with the utility board members of the town of Wedowee council members as a governing body of the utility board. We are paused in the audit and need for the utility board to provide the requested information to provide a response as to whether the utility board would like to move forward with our proposed disclaimer of opinion on the 2023 and 2024 audits. We are happy to explain this further directly with utility board members or town council members. Okay. The other question that was a conflict is where Brenda Boone was a contracted employee, or a contracted or an employee. And she said she was both, which that can be correct. She is a W-2 employee. She says she has a contract, which we have not seen, so we cannot discuss anything further on that. Brian. Can you tell me who authorizes overtime pay?
This is not the time or place to answer these questions. I will answer any questions that you have for me in executive session. I'm not gonna jeopardize my good name and character.
You cannot discuss pay in executive sessions. Noted. I'm going to read my questions, and if you would like to answer the same thing on all of them, that's fine. Did all employees receive the same opportunity for overtime? According to Jim Hall, many things would be voted on and approved by the board, but never happened. Jim, would you explain that?
Yeah, there was times that, well, one of them was cleaning up the shop. The board met here, and then they went down to the shop, and the shop was supposed to be cleaned up, and some of the stuff is supposed to be scrapped, but that never took place. So that was, and Tony can elaborate on some of the other things that the board described that, you know, didn't take place. That was a major one, in my opinion.
Tony, while you were on the board, before this board, do you know of anything that was approved that never happened?
Yeah,
Could you explain to us?
well, we told Brenda to train Allison to do what she does, cause Brenda travels all the time. And I was just on it, I wanted somebody to know the business. And she told me that Allison won't qualify. So, it ended that, so.
Okay. Last week was the first payroll that we had done since the new board. And as we stated in the last meeting, Brenda was suspended with pay. So when we did the payroll, there was no check for Brenda. I asked why. Jim and Allison said that she paid herself in advance and has done that many times if she's gonna be out of town and that sort of thing. I don't think that's okay. Another thing, Jim, can you tell me who does the hiring here?
I can't because, well, I was hired by the board,
Okay.
but I don't think we've hired anybody since I was hired, so.
Brian, can you tell me who does the hiring?
The utility board is supposed to do the hiring. And I wanna say one thing about the shop. The scrap has been consolidated, but do you know the law on getting rid of surplus property?
No, I don't. No, I'm not asking about any particular thing, I'm just asking who does the hiring. Approximately 9 years ago, the utility board bylaws stated that a member of the town, mayor or city council member could not be on the utility board. But then they were changed so that Mayor Tim Coe could be. Does anyone know why those were changed?
Would that have been a town council change?
Would that have been a town of Wedowee change to make that, or a water board change?
Okay, let me repeat that. 9 years ago, the utility board bylaws stated that a member of the town of Wedowee, mayor or city council member, could not be on the utility board. Those bylaws were changed so that Mayor Timko could be.
Gotcha.
Who approved those changes? Who created the
That's
changes?
what I wanna know.
Who was sitting on the board at that time?
I'm sorry,
Who was sitting on the board at that time?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
It's my understanding of the law that the utility board can vote to change the bylaws, and then the town council would have to approve it. Now, that's my understanding, but I'm not a lawyer, so that's the way I interpreted that.
Can I ask some questions about the bylaws while we're discussing them?
Sure.
I asked for a copy of the bylaws, and the only ones I received were from 2017. Nothing before that, nothing after that. And in those bylaws, it states that the board is responsible for hiring an administrator. That is the sole responsibility of the board, to hire an administrator to handle all the affairs. And so my question is, who was the administrator at the time, in the time of the last board, and who is the administrator now?
Jim is the administrator now. The previous administrator, I have no clue. Does anybody know?
And so who wrote payroll recently?
We have done it one time, last Thursday, and that's the only time this board has ever done payroll.
Does that mean that Jim will be taking it over since he is now the administrator?
That was, we have it lined up for the accountants to train Jim on how to do that, yes.
Ooh, do you know what they charge to train?
Well, we don't have a choice.
Well, we're facing months away from bankruptcy, and that's a lot of money. There's nobody else that can train him?
Let me finish, and I'll take questions
Okay.
at the end. Okay. One of my questions to Tim and Brenda, has the utility board ever received money from the town of Wedowee? They are not here to answer. My other question is, has the utility board ever paid money to the town of Wedowee? I do have a check, and I am not saying anything except that there is a check to the town of Wedowee for $13,850.27. I have no clue what it's for, just making a statement. Okay. The $500,000 CD that was owned by the utility board, which Brenda presented, when we went to the bank to verify, they had told us that it was under the name of the town of Wedowee. And they couldn't find it to start with. They finally found it. They got it straightened out. They gave us a letter explaining that it was the bank's mistake. It is back under the utility board of Wedowee. So that. Now, speaking of the CD, this CD was taken out May 14th, 2002 for a 60-month deal. It renewed on May 14th, 2007, which was 18 years and 8 months ago. The people listed on the CD are Tim Coe, Brenda Boone, and Brian Cross. Brian, I understand that you worked in the office for a period of time. Was this something that they added you to and then they didn't take you back off, or is that correct? So it should have Tim and Brenda on it, correct? Okay. There has been no maintenance done on this CD since May 14th, 2007 when it matured. It has been sitting there for 18 years and 8 months, drawing 0.9%. And no one has went to do anything with it. So they give me a letter from the bank. The minimum that has been missed by nothing being done here over the 18 years and 8 months is $351,274.40. Letter right. Okay. Also, with the bank, they are charging the utility board 35 cents per item over, anything over 125 items to deposit the money. Jim, would you tell us roughly on a monthly basis how much we're spending in those fees?
Yeah, that's, close to $2,000.
Close to $2,000 a month.
Yeah.
How long, I don't have any idea how long this is going on, but I think that someone should have thought to maybe check some other deals. And that's just, you know, this board needs the money badly. That's wasted money. Okay, the last meeting with Brenda Boone stated that they have had audits for the last 20 years. We are missing audits from 2014 to 2018. There was one completed in 2013. It was reported on 12/5/2014. There has not been an audit 2014, 15, 16, 17, and 18. 19, 20, 21, and 22 are completed. 23 and 24 are in process. Okay. May 29th, 2021, lawsuit, Alabama Attorney General's Office versus Water, Sewer, and Gas Board of the town of Wedowee. This was settled and paid by the Wedowee Utilities Board in civil penalties for $61,500. This is an IRS letter or intent to levy for $15,766.38. I have a letter from the accountant that this was paid in October of 2025 for $15,766.38. We have several checks that are in question. There's a check to the Bank of New York, Mellon, in Jacksonville, Florida for $9,515. Allison and Jim, would y'all have any idea what that's for?
That is the lagoon project.
Okay. And I'd mentioned the town of Wedowee check. Without Brenda being here, I will not ask the other questions on checks. Okay, new policies, if passed by the board today, will be effective as soon as things can be put into place. We can vote on all of these at one time since they pertain to the same thing. Gas pump will have a code device installed where everybody will have to enter a code for their gas. Purchase orders from administrator will be given on every purchase. Timesheets verified and signed by administrator Jim. Tracking devices for Wedowee Utility Board vehicles. Work vehicles will only be used for business purposes. Mandatory drug tests for all employees. and all employees will handle themselves in a professional manner while on the job. Do I have a motion to approve these things?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll say that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any questions from anyone? You, go ahead, since you.
Thank you. Since all of these have been presented in the meeting, do they all count as open public documents that we can get copies of?
Absolutely.
I'm gonna request in front of everyone for copies of the
As,
documents.
as far as the accountant, I would recommend just calling them. Now, the bank's not gonna give you any information to the accounts or anything like that.
No, I'm asking you if you can provide me with copies.
Absolutely, you're welcome to take a picture of these if you'd like while you're here.
Okay.
So, any questions from?
Tony can agree, and anybody else that's, done any plumbing work or run any lines or anything, sewage always runs downhill, right, Tony?
I didn't understand
I
that.
said the sewage always run downhill.
Supposed to, yeah.
Okay.
That's all we're gonna do.
I think, Barry, I think you've done an excellent job of showing where it stopped at. But who do you report to?
We were appointed by the city council for this board. There is so much misinformation that we don't know where to start. We don't know who is in control, we don't know who calls the shots as far as the day-to-day activities or anything.
So you don't know today who's calling the shots. But do you know who was calling the shots before you took over?
All I can say is everybody tells me Brenda. I cannot
Or did
pin
Brenda,
that on her
did
without
Brenda
her.
report to anybody?
I'm sorry?
Did Brenda report to anybody?
I'm assuming she reported to the board. But, I know, Tony can verify this. In one situation that was a couple of weeks ago, the board voted on something and approved it, and then Brenda was told to enforce it, and she refused to.
So who did Brenda report to?
Now, who reported it to Brenda, Tim? Is that right?
Yes, yeah, well, we
So-
voted on it, and then she,
He reported it from the board,
yeah,
and she refused to do it.
yeah.
But isn't it in the bylaws that the administrator is appointed by y'all, that you hire the administrator and the administrator runs everything? So it goes back to who is the administrator. Right now it's Jim, so Jim should be making all these decisions, correct?
Makes sense, doesn't it?
Yes, so who is the administrator?
Jim is the administrator.
Who was the administrator?
Let me just make everything plain, and this is the way I feel. And I've been here 8 months, and whatever Brenda Boone wanted, that's what happened. And that's just plain and simple. And I'd solve all these problems with that. If you wanna know who's in charge, she was in charge.
But she was hired for that position? Cause it just clicked that you were the
Listen,
board
when
member.
I come on, she said she was contracted back to us for so many hours and so much money,
Okay,
and that's all I could go for.
then she was fulfilling her roles then. If she was the administrator,
Well, no. I
She
guess-
said that she was hired as a contracted, she was a contracted employee that did payroll and did not make any decisions.
Who hired her?
I'm sorry?
Who hired her?
Nobody
She's been
knows.
here 35 years, I have no clue.
so you,
Have all the, money been paid for the government as far as payroll taxes, all these back things, have we all been paid?
Not sure. They can't complete the audit.
Number two, do we have a copy of minutes of all the meetings that's happened in the last, say, 5 years? Is that on file?
Allison, we do.
And number three, do we have job descriptions for all employees?
No.
She
Not
said
at this
yes.
point.
No.
You would do? Could you grab those for me?
I mean, it's,
You know where they are, or is that something Brenda knows?
Brenda just walked in.
Written job description.
on paper,
Is what it is. Yeah, written job.
I'll have to look through the.
only the administrator.
I'm just curious.
We're in the dark about a lot of things here.
Are we gonna keep paying for two administrators?
keep voting.
Keep paying the two administrators.
Well, Jim's the administrator.
But we just said that Brenda could have been the administrator, we don't know.
That's what I'm saying, why are we still paying her then?
Well, I don't know why we're paying her.
Yeah.
You know, last week was the first meeting. The last thing I'm gonna do is question someone's livelihood without knowing the facts. So we knew that there were issues, so to be very fair to her, we suspended her with pay. Now, since then, everything, Tucker, would you mind saying, Tucker is, with the DA's office. Would you mind, telling us where things are there?
I just know that the AG's office is opening an investigation into it.
Okay.
That's all I can confirm as far as firsthand knowledge of it.
So, as we're concerned as a board, we're focused on saving the utility board. From this meeting forward, we're not dealing with any of this. Everything is under investigation, and they can do their job, and we can do our job. There's so much in the unknown. I'm not gonna speculate anything without it being factual. And everything that I've said is factual, and that's where we're gonna leave it. And, we have to get someone, I mean, I know numbers. I don't know anything about water or gas. You know, we're here to get the people in to do what needs to be done. So it's very critical. Any other questions? Jim?
Yes, I'm on the city council here in Wedowee, and I would very much appreciate, Barry, if you could come Tuesday and give us an update to the council.
Sure, no problem. Scott?
What is the gross revenue intake from all the customers per year?
Allison, do you have a printout you can do?
I can.
Per month, per year, yeah. Gas, water separated.
It's like you said the other night,
Yeah,
it's
gas, water,
simple
sewer.
math. If there's more going out than coming in, we've got some very major issues. And I appreciate you already working on getting these numbers right, but I'd like to know what we pay as customers into the system every year.
Right, there has been some complaints on billing. We're not sure, you know, sometimes you get complaints about legitimate stuff, so we don't know, but, you know, that's all will be checked into, for sure.
This
But it's
summer-
not our place.
This summer, it was said that the board voted for the increase on the sewage. I run a winery. All of my water goes into a tank and makes wine. But yet I'm paying as much sewage as I am paying for the water coming in. And on a week, or on a summer like we have with all of this construction that pretty much demolished the entire town, as well as the infrastructure of the pipes. We didn't get anything out of that except probably a 30% decrease in my revenue because people didn't have a place to park, they didn't want to come into the town, and then we get slapped in the face with a 50% increase on the sewage when it was 50% of what I bring in goes out in sewage. And now everything that I pull in goes out in sewage, and sound like a couple other people said, it all runs downhill, but it's all coming back onto us. And that's, I don't think that was right to have it done that way, but I hope you can work these problems out for us. And I appreciate
Well,
it.
it's gonna take more than the board
I
to
understand.
do, and, hopefully we can.
We
get it to a
appreciate
point.
everything you guys are doing, and I think it's gonna be great, and the clarity of it's gonna be great. And instead of just getting a 66% increase in our water bill over the last, 7 or 8 years, it'd be nice to go, this is why we're gonna have to do it. This, and have it all laid out, and like he said, it'd be nice to know, this is what we take in, this is what we spend. Is it up here, is it down here? If it's down here,
We might get a decrease in our bill. That'd be great.
Exactly.
That would be awesome.
Barry, a question. if I
Thank you,
could.
Barry.
To your knowledge, were financial statements provided on a regular basis to previous boards?
Not that I know of.
Is that
That's
something?
not
that,
in the audit. It's not in the audit, so
All
I
right,
can't
is
say.
that something that you as a current board will be starting? Regular financial statements available to the board members to assist in decision-making?
Yes, actually, I'll make the motion now that we do that for monthly statements, financial and otherwise.
But the board hasn't been getting a financial statement.
In the 8 months that you've been with the board?
Well, we might have got it once or twice, but it's the last 2 or 3 meetings.
Mhm.
Cause I asked for one when I first come on, but wasn't no financial statement, wasn't no budget, there wasn't nothing done, so I was told the budget couldn't be done on account of the lagoon project over there, so I'm dumb, I don't understand all this legal business, so I just had to accept it and go on.
I get a motion for monthly financial statements.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
I have one question too about the auditor. You said that the auditor found this stuff this year, but from what it sounds like, this stuff goes back multiple years. Why was it not caught before? And if it was missed before and it's just now being found out, are we gonna look at getting a different auditor
Well,
for the future? That will
That-
catch things the first time?
This audit is from the accountant that's been working with the utility board since 2014. So, as of now, tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, the state auditors will be here.
But we're paying an auditor that missed a lot of things.
What?
We've been paying an auditor who's been missing a lot of stuff, like,
Well,
did
that's
not,
part of the accountant's job.
has she been bringing it to our attention all along?
She did, but we weren't getting that information, apparently.
I gave you the,
We weren't receiving her information.
That's why I'm asking.
what's missing.
Barry, who was doing this job before you?
Timco.
So you're making all this stuff available now. Why wasn't it made available before?
Well, did anybody ask? You know, were there any questions raised by the community? That would be my thoughts.
Yeah.
And so, you know, again, that could be on us as a community, not coming in to ask some of these questions.
Well, we only know when the bill goes.
If you did ask it, you didn't get an answer.
Well, then
So
it would be on record though, hopefully it would be on record that a
Then
question was posed.
Yes, so, first I would like to say that I'm here as a customer in the building owner next door, not as an attorney, I just happen to be an attorney. So none of this is legal advice, but I've kind of been watching from afar and have major concerns about the way all this is playing out with this board and with the city council. So having been on a council myself and saw and requested audits and things when I was appointed to my city council that I'm no longer on, it took a while to sift through it. And what I learned from that is there's a big difference in difference of opinions as to budgetary issues that generally only come up when there's an increase and the public's tipped off by someone and they all of a sudden get enraged and want answers. Well, if the employees have never been required to do things for the board a certain way, now you're asking them to explain things that are actually not their job. And so my concern is some defamation issues I've seen, and certainly I'm sure your council can explain the difference in being protected and not being protected for some of the behaviors, right? And so the liability, potentially, not as a lawyer, falls on the board, the past board members, not directly on employees, unless a difference in opinion as to how things are ran. And having a criminal act or an ethical act are very different things. So being mindful of accusatory stances, as a citizen, I would love everybody here to do that, because really we should all be concerned about just getting the information, then making the decisions accordingly. And as lawyers, that's what we like to do. Give me all the info before I start determining whose fault everything is, right? Because at the end of the day, it's probably your board, because they're the ones charged with handling things, right? If there's criminal activity, that may be different. If there's ethics commission violations or ongoing ones now, then that would be handled by that appropriate state agency. But as a citizen, I think we need to know where the money was spent. I used to represent Wadley years ago. I think Chad has. We've dealt with bad water issues. We understand lawsuits and how you have to settle those, right? And so, you know, just take a breath. I hope everybody here will. Why don't you get the information and then start asking employees, as Chad, I'm sure, would advise appropriately, and how to handle that. Because putting them in these positions can lead to other issues. And that's my concern. I think that there needs to be a better accounting practice, guys. And MDA, by the way, handles municipal budgeting and auditing, right? And it depends on what your contract is, how far they go. Again, that lies with the board. How much you want to pay them to do things, right? I'm sure they can even do your payroll if you ask them, right? But do you need to pay that money? I don't know. Maybe they do right now. The MDA will audit municipalities and boards. They only then will do what the board asks them to do next, right? They'll say, here's the information we need, and then we provide it. Or we don't, and the board lets it die and doesn't go back and ask the next question. So again, I hope that there's not a mess that can't be cleaned up. You know, there's monies out there. It sounds like y'all do get some stuff in, but knowing what that budget should be and what it is now is crucial, right? And understanding the difference in this board and city council, I think, is also very important. Because years ago, I was told the 30s is when this board was maybe taken from the city and its own entity, which is what happened in Rona. I've asked for both of those official paperwork documents, and nobody can ever provide them. So you may have to have a new, meeting that declares all these things. But yeah, I have some concerns about the way this is playing out, and y'all are just going to have a mess of legal fees, and nobody wants that, right? So that's my 2 cents, not legal advice, at least right now. Good enough.
Oh, you're good. Any other questions? Okay. Other thing I'd like to vote on, I'd like to make a motion that we change banks to get a free checking account, 3 free checking accounts, which I've checked on the quotes. At First State Bank, it would be free checking, no per item fee. I checked with Alabama One, because they are protected by another entity other than FDIC, they cannot take our funds. So I couldn't get a rate from them. So we will still check, but I'd like to make a motion to move our bank accounts for free checking.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. As for the CD,
Let me ask you this. Where we got our checks up here now, they won't give us free checking?
I asked, but they have not confirmed that they would. So we can ask.
I have somebody that's right on top of that, my wife. She's the one that takes care of all the treasury stuff. I can have her talk with y'all about it if you'd like.
And I'm just confused why the board is making the calls and not Jim. It's Jim, right? That's your name?
Mhm.
Sorry.
We have to make the motion to do that. Jim can't take it upon himself.
He was the administrator is why I'm asking. It was his role.
It has to be approved by the board.
Okay.
The CD that you said was on file in this bank somewhere, has there been any proceeds from it?
Have there been any what?
Any money made off of it?
Right now, it's $342.38, I believe. It's 0.9%. That's per month.
And it's been since when?
It hasn't been any maintenance since May of 2007.
And it's only earned $300 and something dollars?
That's per month. It's 0.9%.
Cause they never renewed it.
I need to, if you want them to take a picture of it. to see the letter.
We'll get copies later. Hey, Gary, can I ask a quick question about checking? Just a point. So when we were in Roanoke, we realized they didn't have an interest-bearing account either, right? So it's not just saving the money on the per ticket item, it's getting the right interest rate for you all, right? So I think you shop that around. I know that First Bank gave us the best offer. But also, the reason it's the per ticket is because it's a written check. And so what I've learned is that if you direct deposit or direct draft, that's how you are saving those fees, right? It's all about that written check and the processing fee that is associated with it. So that may help y'all a little bit.
Right. Any other questions? Hear a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Thank y'all for coming.